Nobody wanted to jump in the hot seat here?
Yeah, how come no one ever takes Clarence's seat?
Yeah, right.
In memoriam.
Gee.
Like David Moore, Dallas Morning News. When you're facing a team that's playing as high level as Cincinnati is offensively, how does that impact or inform you when you're putting together your game plan? As far as, I know you don't go against their offense, but do you put in more plays? Well, if we get pulled into a game we don't want to be into, we need to have these plays in, or does it have any impact, I guess?
Didn't I avoid this question yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just make sure I'm checking my memory here. But how about if we kick it to another subject? Can I first recognize Zack Martin? He was nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year, and I just think it's an incredible honor, obviously, with Dak winning it last year, and just to recognize his career. So I wanted to make sure I started off with that.
Okay.
But yes, we talk about in game planning. So it's a great point, David.
Thank you so much.
Great question.
Thank you, and since you brought up that,
Okay.
What, if anything, will he be able to do today? Do you have more clarity on what he's dealing with?
Yes, we do. On another note, Zack is going to have season-ending surgery on his ankle. We started off a couple of weeks ago. We felt like the 2 weeks prior to Cincinnati, we felt that this was a good path for him to try to get back was for the Cincinnati game. But as he went through the protocol and the planning, Friday, things kind of didn't look as good as we'd hoped, and then Monday there was some more studies, and then there was a conversation that went on yesterday, and everybody involved felt it was best for him to get to surgery.
So after Friday, there was concern with well,
there's more. I'd say there's more. There was hope still Friday. We felt that because there was a 2.5 week plan that they felt that Britt Brown with the rehab process that the goal was for him to be back for Cincinnati, and then through that process, and Zack will be available today after practice like he normally is. He'll be in the locker room, so I'm sure he can speak on the specifics. But it just Monday, Tuesday, it looked like it was going in a different direction.
Mike Todd Archer, the ESPN. Zach's battled through a lot of stuff here the last couple of years. Obviously, his contract's up. He's an older player. You start thinking about his legacy and what he's meant at all when you get there?
Well, I think just like anything, I think you just have to take a step back and deal with one thing at a time. And that's frankly was the conversation that Zack and I had. The focus is really about the surgery. What's next? And I think those are all questions that I'm sure that will be asked or be thought about. But he really, in my conversations with him, his focus is on getting the surgery and trying to, do the best he can with this ankle, because obviously, this is, I think, the third surgery he'll have on that ankle.
When you think of him as a player, what do you think of?
He's clearly a Hall of Famer, but not only just for the way he plays, but just first class. He just commands a lot of respect. Same personality every single day, hardworking, true team guy. Puts the team first. He's been a joy to work with, and I can't say enough great things about him.
John Schroeder with The Athletic. What are your feelings right now about what you have to replace him with TJ and with Brock and what they've been able to do?
Yeah, definitely. Those guys have worked hard. Brock's done a nice job in there. TJ's, I thought he played well in Chicago, or not Chicago, Washington. I was just watching the Chicago game. But, I think that, the biggest thing for him is to be consistent, TJ. But I thought Brock has done a really nice job. He brings that edge to us. So those guys have done, they've done what we needed to fill in. But now, they got tape. People are watching them. So their challenges will be different.
And then what about the plan today for CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks?
CeeDee will be limited, so he'll just do a little bit. His shoulder's still bothering him, and Brandon he'll be part of the rehab vet group today, because technically today's a Wednesday for us.
Calvin.
Calvin Watkins, Fast Morning News. I know injuries is part of your business, but when you lose Zack now, you go, man, we can't get a break here. In a sense, you're just trying to get guys healthy.
It's to be honest with you, injuries, it's the worst part of the game, for the players. it's so unfortunate because you know how much they put into it. But as far as the the operation and the process, I mean, this is this is just part of our game, and and your competition doesn't care. So I mean, I mean, not that it matters what we care what they think, but I just think it's just how it goes. It's not a matter of if you're going to have injuries. You're always going to have injuries. It's just a matter of how many and when they come and and who gets injured. I mean, that's has been my experience of it. So, and I think just like anything, when you talk about roster development and the importance of these younger players and developing these younger players, and that's why the whole culture is built around tailoring to the young players, because if you can get your younger players ready and have a good plan and that plan of development, obviously you're developing everybody else, because it takes so many players to get through the season, and this is another illustration of that.
How valuable is Zach's just guidance with some of the younger?
Yeah, big. I mean, he's going to be missed. I mean, we're not going to replace Zack Martin by no means. Just his presence, his there's meetings that we have offensively, with just the linemen and different position groups. So we've gone to a different meeting structure. Zach is the veteran leader that leads one of the meetings. So those types of things that behind closed doors, you're not going to replace that, because he brings so much to the team, to the team culture. We all recognize what a great player he has been here in Dallas for his whole career, but what he gives us as a person, he gravitates to, makes people gravitate to him, and he does a really good job of bringing people together. That offensive line room is really an illustration of his leadership, and he'll definitely be missed in that area.
Saudis with The Athletic. Mike, with CeeDee Lamb, he didn't have a whole lot of drops last year, but his drops are up this year. What do you kind of attribute that to?
I just think it's a couple things. Obviously, I mean, CeeDee's battling some things. He's getting a lot more attention than he did last year. So I think it's just part of the challenges that he'll really probably see the rest of his career.
Garrett.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Mike, you're playing a struggling Bengals defense, but Trey Hendrickson leads the NFL in sacks. Kind of what stands out to you about him on this defense?
Well, great motor, number one, but boy, I'll tell you, I mean, the technician. I mean, he does a really good job, as far as his steps and time clock and the way he rushes. So, I mean, that's something that's been very evident. I mean, there's not a game that you don't put on where he's not, affecting the pass protection in some areas. So, I mean, he's having a great year.
Ed.
Mike, Ed Werder, WFAA. Relevant to the point you just made, talking about Hendrickson, you faced a number of elite pass rushers throughout the course of the season. How, as a staff, how much time do you spend as a staff trying to make sure that particular player is accounted for properly, and how well do you think you guys have done that this year?
I'll say I think we've done a good job. I think it's like anything. One thing I really pay attention to in the offensive game plan process is, how many things are we adding during the course of the year? It's a study that I've always done as a coordinator. When you go back and you look at what you've installed in the off-season program and training camp, in this particular item that you're talking about, the help protection tags, how much did we rep those early in the year? So because you're always trying to project how you think the season's going to go. So, the point I'm making is we did a good job last year doing the scheme evaluation, saying, hey, we need to add more. We need more variations of helping our tackle, especially with Tyron leaving and not knowing exactly what the situation is going to be at left tackle too. So I know the process, and as far as how we are utilizing those protection help keys is a better process than we've had. But to give you a clean evaluation of saying we've had 72 plays of help protection and this is our grade, I don't have that here for you. But I do the conscientious effort in the details of making sure those guys get the proper help. I think we've done a better job this year than last year.
And when you look at the performances of your guys against those elite rushers, are you pretty satisfied with?
Well, I mean, you always want to be better, but yeah, I mean, I think just like anything, you had, there's times where you may not give given a guy enough attention too. So I mean, that's, but it's just like any game. You can't, especially with the amount of front variation you're seeing, especially on first and second down, you're seeing, the highest volume of front variation, in my time in the league in normal D&D. So, I mean, so that part's a little bit more of a challenge, and we're doing the same thing too with Micah. So, I mean, that's part of the chess match.
Joe.
Joe Hoyt, All City Dallas. Any Traylon Diggs practice yesterday? How did he come out of that, and kind of any update on his status?
Yeah, I mean, he was in the walkthroughs, so we'll see how he feels. He'll be I would say he'd be in a limited status today.
Todd.
Mike, this is obviously the most work Rico's had in his career. When they get to this point, for the first time for running back, how mindful are you of him, of staying on top of your body, all the things, recovery, and all that stuff?
Well, I'd like to think we're doing that with the whole team, but yeah, I mean, it's, especially the demands of that position. I mean, it's, and I think as we move forward too, because we're going to a 6-day week and then into some 7-day weeks and, potentially a 6-day week here at the end. So you're definitely very mindful of that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe all the way into Thursday. That's just something I think you have to be mindful of, especially at that position late in the year.
How do you think he's handled the workload that he's had?
Oh, he's handled it well. I mean, he wants, he's young. I mean, this is, he likes getting the football. So.
I got one more. You worked out some corners and signed to the practice. Is that more about concerned about the health, or just, hey, we need some?
Yeah, I think, I mean, clearly the motivation was need, just because of the injuries that we've had. So, but, I'm anxious to see these guys work, in more of a full speed capacity today. Saw the workout yesterday. So, and, we'll get a better feel tomorrow in pads.
All righty.
All right,
Thank you,
thank
Mike.